Hello everyone. A renowned translator, Chow Kach Hai, once said, "There are books that, despite being 70, 80 years old, remain ever young." This truly is a perfect statement to describe the fairy tale for adults, the masterpiece, The Little Prince. It's also a book that has deeply moved and profoundly influenced me. Behind each enchanting tale, we come to realize the nature, desires, which are present in every individual of the adult world. Seemingly a slim book with simple words, it's in fact a soothing elixir for the soul of the whole world. After finishing reading The Little Prince, we come to realize that the deepest wisdom is often hidden in the purest soul. One, let go of the exterior. The Little Prince resides on planet B612, a tiny planet with very few things, only 2 active volcanoes. Every day, he must wake up early to clean the volcanoes and tidy up the baobab seeds. These seeds always come along with gusts of wind, and they can be quite terrifying because they have the power to grow tremendously. If not cleared in time, his small planet would soon be devastated by the wild growth of baobab trees. Although the baobab trees may bring life to his empty planet, attract migratory birds, or block out the scorching sun, he still consistently cleans them up. And the fact remains that our lives also have many such baobab trees. The clothes are worn only once or twice, yet we slowly fill our closets. Unread books, yet they accumulate dust on the shelves. Discounted items are bought but seldom used, sometimes forming a pile in a corner somewhere. In psychology, there is an effect called the Diderot effect. This effect indicates that we always spend money on things that are not truly necessary. When you acquire a new possession, you tend to continue acquiring things that you deem to be compatible with it to achieve a psychological equilibrium. A simple example is buying a new outfit and suddenly realizing you need a pair of shoes or a handbag to match it. You purchase a new set of sofa chairs and then realize that the layout in the living room is not in harmony. Thus, you need to change it again. In the age of materialistic desires as it stands today, we are often unconsciously swept into the trend of excessive consumption. Rarely do we contemplate simplicity, reduction, or elimination. Instead, we consistently yearn to accumulate, upgrade, and generate more of these material possessions. The author of the book, The Art of Discarding, Akirawa Mayumi, once said, "Owning an object means to use up a part of our energy for it. We are just not very conscious of this." Whether life is wonderful or not isn't determined by how much you own, but by how much time you have to make yourself happy. If the human heart is continuously covered by desires for materialistic possessions, if we keep tirelessly pursuing them, perhaps collectively unnoticed, we will miss out on the joys of the very present life, and it might even lead us to become more exhausted, depleted, and suffering. To uncover the true essence of life, we must shed the external and consistently clear away the baobab trees within our own lives. Two, abandon desire. Before arriving on Earth, the Little Prince passed through 6 small planets and encountered 6 peculiar grown-ups. The first adult he met was a reigning monarch living on a planet where he was the sole ruler. The king issued strict commands to his imagined subjects. As if each order were a nail, he drove into his own golden throne, his hands gripping the scepter tightly all day without budging an inch. Seeing this, the little prince became fearful and quickly bid his farewell. Another grown-up the little prince encountered was a peculiar merchant. He sat at his desk each day, tallying receipts and locking them away in a drawer. The little prince found it odd and didn't understand who this merchant was transacting with. The merchant claimed he was counting the stars in the sky, as the amount of money he had deposited in the bank. He was consumed by an insatiable desire for wealth and couldn't break free. Throughout his life, he had been trapped behind his work desk, living like a counting machine. Whether they are kings or merchants, those adults aren't much different from us. They are falling into a bottomless pit where the desire for position and money is leading us to plunge headlong. Once we've sunk deep into this pit, humans will never feel satisfied. And isn't that the greatest tragedy in each person's life? Or isn't it? When a person desires too much, they will inevitably become a victim of desire itself, led astray by reputation, guided by possessions, constantly chasing without ever finding the destination, only left with weariness, depletion, and no time to realize, to experience the inherent things along our path, and the meaning of life becomes even more lost. 3. Letting go of unworthy relationships. The little prince finally arrived on Earth and landed in a deserted desert for several days. He didn't even catch a glimpse of a person. He shouted in the lonely valley, only to hear the echo of his own voice. In his desperation to escape loneliness, he poured his heart and soul into every encounter. Yet, the outcome was often disappointment. He gave his all to the snake, but the snake had a sinister plan to devour him. He enthusiastically shared his past with the railway switchman, but the switchman brushed him aside. He met a peddler of quenching drinks, yet the peddler only aimed to deceive him into buying his medicine. To avoid loneliness, the little prince exerted himself to get acquainted with people on Earth, but those distant and indifferent individuals were only interested in exploiting themselves. It wasn't until he encountered the fox that things changed. Even though they came to the Sandonas to watch the sunset together, they exchanged thoughts and emotions. The fox told the little prince that what truly matters cannot be seen with the eyes, only felt with the heart. With the fox, the little prince felt sincerity and kindness for the first time. In that moment, the loneliness within him suddenly disappeared. Have you ever found yourself in a meaningless social situation like the little prince? When loneliness strikes, I want to find someone to talk to, but after scrolling through my contacts, I silently put my phone away. When facing difficulties, old friends who once shared meals and laughter can suddenly become strangers. As the years go by, we come to realize that true companions are few and far between. Instead of blindly expanding our social circle, it's better to narrow it down and reserve our energy for those who are deserving. The sincerity of a couple of close friends is always worth more than the superficial chatter of countless acquaintances out there, 100,000 times over. Four, keep the heart pure. After bidding farewell to the fox, the little prince wandered aimlessly. The scorching sun made him uncomfortable, and the sand-laden wind prevented him from opening his eyes. A few days later, he encountered a stranded pilot who had crash-landed in the desert. 8 days of being stranded had left the pilot deeply anxious. Images of dire situations filled his mind, engines refusing to start, the question of who would complete the delayed flights, and the uncertainty of having enough water for the next day. Life seemed full of regrets, and as their water supply dwindled, the pilot succumbed to a high fever. In contrast, the little prince was entirely unfazed. He set out in search of water, casually conversing with the pilot about his fascinating journeys and looking up at the star-filled sky along the way. Amidst the relaxed conversation, he managed to locate a water source, leading them both to safety. In life, each of us will be targeted by two arrows. The first arrow is shot at us from the external world, representing the difficulties and failures we often encounter. The second arrow, however, is the one we shoot at ourselves, self-inflicted, and it encompasses the negative emotions we generate. This arrow is always poised to strike you when your heart is entangled and agitated by negative thoughts. Psychologist Alfred Adler once said, "No one lives in the objective world. All of us live in the subjective world where everything has its own meaning." If you remain calm, your world will be peaceful and bright. If you overthink, your world will be full of difficulties and dangers. In life, there are many times when it's not someone else tormenting you, but rather your own attachments that haunt you. The Little Prince isn't just a satirical work on human society. Above all, it teaches us how to establish and maintain relationships between people and how to treat ourselves. Initially, we are all like the Little Prince, and as life becomes more complex, we gradually turn into kings, merchants, or pilots. The author once said, "We were all children once." Although only a few realize this, when we truly understand this book, we'll come to realize that there's never a complex situation in life, only a complex mind. It's easy to turn simplicity into complexity, but returning from complexity to simplicity is always difficult. This process requires self-discipline and mindfulness within you. But just by reminding yourself to let go of material desires, excessive thoughts, you can mold your true self. If you find this video helpful, please support Better Inside by giving it a thumbs up, sharing it with those who might need it, subscribing to my channel, and turning on the notification bell to receive upcoming videos. Let's all strive to eliminate chaos, live simply, dispel the fog of material desires or indifference, and embrace your own little prince.